Hi everyone. So in this video we are finally now tackling our order storage test, and the way we can achieve that is basically by leveraging the stuff that we did in the last in this last video regarding this test data refactoring. And I wanted to show you here a little bit on why I think this was necessary in order to create a better test. So if we look at our dependency graph of our domain model here right now, then we have our new central piece, which is this order entity, and this has a one-to-many composition to an order line. And so then there's reference data to the customer, and from the order line also to the stock item, and this then on the other side also references actually the other way around, so the arrow should go to the product. Then you also have this kind of data. So in red here I marked all the stuff that we have to set up for this particular test, just in order to test our stuff for the order, because all of this stuff needs to be there. And when you have like test data like this, or like a bigger amount of test data, then all of a sudden it becomes more and more relevant to actually make that a good thing. Okay, so then I think we can actually now cover this one here, and to do that, I already in the last video I already said that I will prepare all the stuff for all the entities, and now you have like a lot of additional classes here. So we have now also these mapper classes, then we have these repository classes, and in the test source we also have like corresponding beans for customers and order lines and product categories and so on. Okay, so with that in place, I think we can start. There's just one additional stuff that I wanted to let you know about, because when you in the last video actually also did what I did on your local machine, then you might have seen an error, and this actually comes from this Lombok annotations. So what you probably need to do is, so first of all, there is a plugin for Mapstruct, which makes sense to actually add to your IntelliJ. And then there's another thing which is called annotation processing. Let's take a look here, and this is something that you have to enable here for this particular project, and this way it will actually IntelliJ will actually, when it builds the application, understands those Lombok annotations, and actually can does not treat them as some kind of compiler errors or something like this. So you just have to check this check mark here and say apply. Okay, so this actually leads up now to our order storage test. And order storage test, exactly. So if we just take a look at what we have done before with the Spring Boot annotation, and then also we add our extend with tenant user environment. So this means that we actually have a clean slate when we start our test, and we don't have any interfering test data. So okay, so I think we can create a test method which we will call given valid order. Then when validate, sorry, not validate, but when storing order with order lines, then order entities are stored. Yeah, and I already create or like said that I want to take care of the order lines as well. Perhaps let's just write this bigger test case, and then we can think about if we want to cut off or create an additional test where we do not want to have the order lines in place. So I think now, since we have our beans, actually we can do our auto wiring for example, customers. I think this would be the first thing that we actually need. So we have now our customers bean, and this bean has now, you know, our method for default data. And yeah, this would be the first step. So we say given customers default data, and then yeah, so this would be in case where we actually only need the test data. So I have created one additional convenience method, which I called save default, and which will just, you know, take this exact default data and just persist that. So it's just a shortcut. So if we go into the implementation, it's just a shortcut method to default data and then calling save on this particular data. So this means here we can now say we have our customer, and the second thing would be then that we inject our products. And I think this is what we already saw last time. Yeah, and products we would like, you know, to perhaps save. And here we can have default data, and perhaps it makes sense to say, I don't know, yeah, give it a dedicated name in order to make it something meaningful for the test. Perhaps let's go with some bike. And then we say build, and then it is stored. So this means now we have our product. And the next thing is that we need to create those stock items. And for those stock items, we also will use the new beans that we have. Okay, and here what we actually now need to do is to link it to the product and perhaps give it some, I don't know, identifier. Like this. And then we have stock item, or stock item 1 perhaps, actually, you know, then we can create perhaps 2 of them. Like this. And now, yeah, the next thing would be then actually trying to save the order. And here I will actually not use, you know, the data manager, but instead, yeah, we can actually also use our test data, because our test data bean, because at the end of the day, it also just uses this order repository, which under the hood will use the data manager. Okay, so this actually, I think we can pull off here. So let's create a dependency, or like add this dependency, orders. And we can do the same thing for order lines. Okay, so this would be, first we need to store the orders, and I will tell you in a second why this is actually the case. So first of all, let's just create the order and link it to our customer, and just, you know, give it an order date. Yeah, I think we can actually, I think if we go here, then, you know, we can just copy and paste our, or a particular test data here for the local date, and let's just say we want to create that for today, and then we store this order. And this is already actually, you know, the part where we actually, you know, invoke or like actually perform our test. So this means we actually have to create our order, and then we have to create our order lines. The way how I structured that right now is that currently it's not possible in this orders default data to pass in order lines, that this will also be persisted. And this is perhaps something that we can just improve later. for now, I just basically did it like that. I just store the blank order without any order lines. And since there is no validation in place, this will actually go ahead and just work. But what we can then do is to say we would like to store a dedicated order line. Let's just do it like this, and here we then pass in the order. And this is actually the reason why we have to do the order storage first, because otherwise we could not pass in this persistent order here. And then we will go ahead and say this will be stock item number 1, and yeah, perhaps let's say so we could say starts at today. So this will actually not work because it requires a local date time. Yeah, so perhaps it's easier if we just do it like this. So here we will create additional parameters in 2 days and in 3 days, and just use those, those two static variables here in place. Let's just see how this works. So we will say starts at in 2 days, ends at in 3 days, and then we can say build, and here we will now actually store our order line. Probably it should actually be order line 1, and since we have another stock item, we could store could just store this this second item here as well. And I was just thinking on, now actually, if we want to do some kind of assertion, it makes actually sense to check on a particular order item if this is present or not. And for that, it actually would be a good idea to have, check on, for example, the end date, where, that we basically will find out based on the end date, we'll find the corresponding order line. And let me just do it like this for now. In 2 days, we have some order line that ends in 2 days and some order line that ends in 3 days. And yeah, I think with that, we have now persisted everything, so it is already in the database. So this means that we can now, go ahead and actually, just verify that actually everything is fine. And for that, we actually need the data manager, since we, let's just go here and add this dependency. And the reason is that I would like to load this particular order once again. And yeah, we can just, call the one method. And the reason for that is that I just assume that this actually has been correctly persisted. Otherwise, there would be an exception in here. So this means, we can just give that variable name and then, do some assertions on that. And so yeah, and here what we can do then is just, I think we set it to today. So actually, let's take a look if this already works. And then we can improve our test case a little bit later, or a little bit more. Yeah, but for now we can just, run that. We could also, check on the customer that this is actually the right customer and so on. There's one thing that I wanted to show you, which will increase our test a little bit more. And this is not particularly true only for this particular test, but also actually in general. So there's one neat capability from assertj. So right now what we always do is that we say assert that, and then we pass in, some particular attribute, and, then we just say, is equal to, and then we pass in the expected value. assertj has also a mechanism to basically make those assertions a little bit more relevant to your business needs or to your domain model. And the way that it works is that it is possible to basically generate some assertions that would that are more tied to a particular entity or a particular class that you would like to be generated on. And I will show you how to do that. So there's this build.gradle, or perhaps let's do it the other way around. So what I'm aiming for is that instead of having like a very general description like this, I will just write it like as I would imagine it to be. So what we could say is to say assert that, and then I just pass in the saved order, and then it could be has customer, and then I just pass in the customer. And the reason why this is currently not possible is that this method does not exist, but this is where this code generation comes into play. And I wanted to show you how to do that, or that it's similar to the example with map struct and so on. We are able to use that in a jmix application just as would it be a regular Java application. So for that, there we go into the build gradle file, and what you can do here is you can add particular Gradle plugins, and there's one Gradle plugin which is called assertj-generator, and by adding this we will get a dedicated Gradle task, which is called something like generate assertions or something like this, and then it will actually generate for all our classes corresponding assertion classes. It's also possible to write them on our own, so we could also do that, but I will not go down this route here for now. But what is additionally interesting is that we can whitelist a couple of classes that we would like to be generated, and I prepared that here. So what you can say here is that you have a configuration for this assertj-generator, and then you can say class or package names, and then we will go with those 4 classes for now. And if I now refresh my Gradle configuration, then hopefully afterwards we should see that now we have a new task for assertj. It's actually called generate assertions, and where this will go, it will actually put it under the test directory and not under this Java here, but actually under generated Java. So let's just run that, and then now we have a couple of classes here, which it's called, for example, product assert or product category assert, and so on. And as you can already see here, so for example, for this product assert, we now have a method called has category. And now what I only have to do is to get rid of this static import and import the correct assertion. So I think this we can already get rid of. And here we would say it should actually be yeah, I think it should be this. Let's just double check. Yeah, so for this order, we have this one assertions class, and this is where we should import all of our assert that statements. Okay, and if we have that in place, now we actually have a slightly better or more readable form of this assertion. And I think yeah, now we can just fill in the gaps for this order line, and exactly for this order line. So this means that we have saved customer, and we could say has order line, and so what we could do here is to just ask for order line 1 or 2. I think this should already work. I think when we do it like this and we do it like this, then this should already solve the puzzle here. And I think with that we can actually then finish our video. Okay. Good. And then I think we also, it's actually has order lines, so we can also just pass in a list of those. Or perhaps let's actually take a look. So has order lines is there. Yeah, and perhaps we can actually make it like this to verify that it in effect only has those very two order lines and not anything else. Good, and with that, I think we now have covered our test data refactoring, and then we also have now added our final order storage test. So I think with that we now actually can go to the next phase and create our user interfaces for the product storage. For the order. All right, thank you very much for watching, and then see you next time.